next episode of the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. Back with me again, Simon Winch, who's become the favorite of this show over the past couple of weeks.
How did that happen? I think you set me up with every contentious show you've got, knowing.
Well, all the people, I think it's the accent. They listen to it. I've gotten messages saying, I enjoy you, but I'm obsessed with Simon. We need more Simon. I really do. I think it's the English accent that really mesmerizes people, and it really brings them.
It's diversity, mate.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Plus, you check off a box. I got an immigrant on the show, so when I'm applying for state funds at some point in time, I can check off that box
because I'm the token immigrant.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this show, and there's a good chance that you might be a very new listener, because the last show we had absolutely destroyed previous download numbers. First day, first week. It's been the most shared, talked about show we've ever done, and for good reason. So welcome if this is the first time you've joined us since that. And I encourage you to go back and listen to some of the other shows we've had. They're not all like that. We've had some really interesting people, from race car drivers to musicians to local business owners, authors, all kinds of people, TV personalities. Once in a while we delve into the political side of things. And this past week, that really wasn't the case. We just wanted to tell a story about a guy and why he wasn't able to get his construction project complete, which is the Morris Hotel in downtown Rocky Mount.
For the time being,
For the time being. Little did I know that just having him on would stir up. I mean, we didn't just kick the hornet's nest. We played hot potato with it with gasoline gloves and then drop kicked it into a flaming, fire pit. We've had messages, comments from the things that were discussed and talked about on that show, nonstop for the last 5 days, of people saying, "Hey, I'm glad somebody finally said it. Somebody's out," to a number of people saying, "I had no idea. I should pay more attention," to things to that nature. And I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences, but I think it's funny that I released a big post on Facebook saying, "Hey, we're going to have this guy on tomorrow. Going to be releasing the show late tomorrow night. So pretty much Wednesday morning, for all you waking up, go listen to it." And the gentleman we had on, Philip Bain, the same exact day we released the episode, conveniently, the Franklin News Post and the Roanoke Times also released these videos because they had been accusing him for some time of assault.
Was it an assault?
It
was an assault, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, against, I believe it was Assistant Town Manager Robert Moore.
But does that not show you already that there's collusion from Town Council with the press? Yes. And it could have been a coincidence. It could have been a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. No, absolutely
and
not.
Especially not with, after the things I've been kind of hearing lately and coming about. And funny enough, I guess if you actually took the time to watch the video, I don't know how many would, because nobody actually pays attention to corporate media anymore. But if you did look at the video, unfortunately for them, the video actually shows the assistant town manager. It's not Robert Moore. It's Matt Moore. I'm sorry, not Robert Moore. Matt Moore.
Mike
Moore. Mark Moore. You're not even important for me to remember your name. Anyway, him. It actually vindicates Philip, and it implicates Mark for the assault. And I've heard through the grapevine that there have been assault charges now filed on him, which goes to show you that the reporter who got the information didn't even bother to look or pay any attention to what the video was on, and now it's out there and it's kind of flipped the script.
Well, journalistic integrity's been in the toilet for years.
And look, I don't know this person from Adam. I'm just saying that the video, you just have to watch it just to kind of see.
Now, was that a request? I'd love to know if that was requested.
Now, from what I'm hearing, and this is, just sources, I'm hearing that in a fray and a panic to get these videos out to the newspapers after our show release, that whoever did it, it was from a personal phone, and they sent more videos than they should have. And one of them actually vindicated Philip and implicated Mark. And then I guess the person who released it to the newspapers also didn't do their due diligence and go through and look at it if that was the case.
So we can safely assume at this point that whoever colluded, I use the word colluded wisely, because that's what it was, colluded with the press. I use the term press very loosely as well. I I think we can safely say they were a town council employee to be there at the time to get that footage on their personal phone.
Yes. And with all that being said, now the town has called a closed-door emergency meeting on a federal holiday, and that piques my interest because it's really hard to get them to work on the days they're supposed to work. So have them coming in on a day that they don't have to work really makes me wonder what's going to be going on.
Touche.
I have
touche.
I have no qualms about saying I think that we will be on the agenda and whatever else they're talking about just from here, and that's fine and dandy with me. I'm not, I don't do this to be political. I think I've made this very clear many a times. I'm an anarchist. It is my goal, my life goal, to see it all burned to the ground because I think we as humans, I got enough faith in us as humans to be able to govern ourselves, and at the very least, a minimalist, a minarchist society. I don't think we need all this nonsense. That being said, I understand the game we're in, I understand the rules that are in front of me, and while I can, I still want to see the best representation. I want people that are gonna, be in those positions at least do their best and figure out a way to not screw us over at every single turn.
Well, I think at some point you also have to ask yourself why the local government involves itself in such histrionics and drama when there's other business that needs to be taken care of. There are issues that, not that the issues with Philip don't matter, they do. And the way government works matters, but the government has to get back to the business of dealing with all of this, facilitating. But instead of being involved in this sort of drama that they get involved in.
Well, that's by design too. I mean, you've got to be accountable and responsible for the actions that you take. Unfortunately, they're not. But I want to just pick up on one point with some of the new listeners that are going to be tuning into this. You use the word anarchist. I would urge anyone to look up that definition before you apply any preconceptions.
And maybe not Google it, DuckDuckGo it, because Google's probably going to give you, Somalia, Antifa, some kind of stuff. No, that's not.
Yeah. So, but the true definition of anarchy is actually quite interesting, and it isn't perhaps what you perceive. So do your own research on that. Have at it.
Yeah, so I don't want to see it all burned to the ground. I just want to see government get out of our way so we can better spend our money on better things. I'm not a fan of wasteful spending, and I think that's probably why we're sitting here right now.
Well, they're thieving from us. Well, they call it taxation, but I'd call it thievery.
Well, taxation by its very nature is theft. And if I go up to you, Simon, and say, well, my kid's got a dance recital and I need money from you, and you say, piss off. Well, you owe it to me because of taxes. Well, piss off. Well, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to take you by gunpoint, put you in handcuffs, and throw you in a cage if you don't pay for it. Now, if the government does that, it's just called, that's the price we pay to live in a civilized society, and a civilized society by being on the brink of nuclear war right now. So but if I go do that to you as a non-government employee, then the police will come haul me off for a burglary and assault with a deadly weapon and all kinds of,
You'd be a highwayman.
Very much so. So it's the so subtle differences right there. I just have enough faith in our people that we could actually govern with a very minimal set of officials.
I think those were the founding fathers' original principles to start with. They've just been polluted.
Exactly. So. And the problem is, and I think that we've seen here in Franklin County and Rocky Mount, is we've just had a lot of things go unchecked for so long, and nobody else is going to hold these people's feet to the fire. I don't want to have to do it, but it appears I'm going to have to now because all ears are on us. All eyes are on us. All ears are listening now because they haven't been able to get the stories. You get 30 seconds here on the news. You get, 4 paragraphs in the newspaper. You don't really get to sit down and actually talk to somebody. And people have stuff to do. It's tough to come out to these meetings. It's tough to come out. They have lives. They have kids. They have after-school sports. So the only people that can really come in are older people, for the most part. And so they continue to make the rules. And let's just be honest, a lot of them are out of touch with how today's world is going. I think nothing's more evident or clear than the impact this podcast had this past week, because they had no earthly idea that something like this could happen. I think they've been so bold for so long that they kind of started getting to the point to where they just thought nobody could stop. Well, it doesn't take a lot. All it takes is an idiot and a microphone, because people don't pay attention to the corporate media anymore, and people want the stories.
Well, I think the apathy and lack of engagement has enabled this behaviour, and we're calling it out. It's time to stop. We've had enough. And Philip Blaine's saga is by no means a sole example of what's been going on over several years. So, and
I also want to make it very clear too, anybody that is on the town council, the board of supervisors, once again, any office, you're more than welcome to come on here, and we're going to give you your time. We're going to let you speak your piece. And, we might talk back, and not talk back. We're going to, go back and forth. We'll say our views. You can say yours. We just want you to be able to get yourself out there and let the people know why they should come vote for you. We've extended some invites. A couple have reached back to us. Councilman Pinkard,
former
did agree at some point, or no, he kind of teetered on the idea, and then he told me that a couple of simpletons like us shouldn't have a podcast. So I would really hope he'll come on, and I guess I'll see him on Tuesday, and we can have a formal introduction. But
I think actually, in fairness, the closed door session, there will be a blanket ban on any personnel currently employed by town council to come on this podcast, because I can see that.
Well, that tells me all I need to know. If you got something to hide, then, and I know it's not always that simple and that cut and dry, but I mean, we've welcomed people on the show that we vehemently disagree with.
Oh, absolutely. But
we still bring them on
here. These are
here.
First Amendment rights.
Yes.
So as a constitutionalist, you've got to offer and afford everyone's opinion, because it is their First Amendment rights.
Yes, and they have a right to be heard. And if it's not going to be heard in other forums, and it's going to be difficult to be heard because the rules are in other people's favor, then you got to find ways around those rules. And that's why we're here today. Like I said, I never really anticipated it to go to this position, but I'm glad that it kind of went down this road, because I want Rocky Mount to know what they have in store for them. And with the upcoming election, Steve Engel, the incumbent, is challenger we have here today. Somebody I've known for an awful long time, known his family, go back to our days at Tech and riding around in the back of a Jeep. That's been a long time, though.
We may need to keep some of those stories.
So I'm curious. I've taken a completely different path from them, and I haven't, I've seen him around, haven't got a chance to talk to him very much since. So I'm kind of interested in his path and how he got back here. I know he's, was an attorney, and I know quite a few people that dealt with him, and he's got a family that's been in this town for a while. So I want people to come on and understand, like, you do have other choices. And today we're welcomed by Holland Perdue. So Holland, appreciate your time and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you inviting me.
And we also have Joe Stanley over here in the corner. And if anybody doesn't know who Joe Stanley is, he's probably the antithetical version of us. He gets under the crawl of the town police and all kinds of other people. You've got a couple of websites out there, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of go over quite a few things that some corruption has been on in other party. Maybe we'll get you on at some point in time to go over that. It's I don't want to take away from why we're here today, but very interesting stuff, talking about just some of the other shady things that go on in some of these, town council and police departments and things to that nature. I just want transparency. That's all I want. And if you have transparency, that's when justice can really be served, and that's when things can really get done. Well,
you're likely to get honest engagement with transparency. And that's what we don't have right now. There is certainly no financial transparency, and for good reason, I would suggest.
Yes. So, with all that being said, Holland, why in the hell did you throw your hat into this den of vipers?
Well, I went off to school. You and I both went to Tech. Went off to school, came back here, started practicing law in 2010. I have 2 children. I want to see them come back here. I know you have children, and I think you probably want the same thing. I think that's, as a parent, your goal is to spend as much time with your children as you can. And this area has a great opportunity to grow and to allow our children to come back. But right now, we lack the businesses, and I think probably the model to get young people back to the area. And so I think my goal is to find a way to make sure that people want to not only to come here that aren't from here, but that are from here, come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my thing. I didn't even know you had 2 kids. Congratulations on that. And that actually, that to me makes you more likable as well, because if you have kids and you do have a vested interest, that's why I started this show. I wanted my kids, I wanted to leave them something better than what I found it. And I got so tired of the negative comments and the negative stereotypes that Appalachia and Franklin County had in general. And I said, you know what? This is actually a cool place to live. We've got a lot of spark. We've got a lot of spunk. We've got beauty. We've got some really tough people. And why would you not? I mean, you got Roanoke, Greensboro, anything you would need in a city is kind of close by. You don't have to go very far for it. Why wouldn't you want to live here and raise your family in a good community like this?
That's one of the reasons. I mean, there's a long story about how I came to be here. But
came over on, what was it the Mayflower or?
And the accent has lasted that long. Yeah. No, I actually came up from the Caribbean. What was it, 15 years ago? Having lived there for, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. So, you know, it's been a good path. It's been a good journey. But, you know, this is where I've laid my hat. And for all the right reasons. And to have... you know, a family that's growing, that's going to spend a little bit of time, most likely away doing whatever college, and the colleges here in Virginia are first class. So hopefully they won't be too far. But you always want your family to come back, and this place, you know, it's magic.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the history of this place. You know, I mean, you know, the moonshiners. Stepping up against the law, stepping up against, you know, the great moonshine conspiracy and the things that they did. Of course, some of that's been dramatized, but they didn't take a lot of crap from anybody. And I think that's deep ingrained in us.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's all the Scots-Irish. And that goes back to the Revolutionary War as well. It was all a bunch of Scots-Irish that, you know, said we shall throw off the cloak of George III, the lunatic. And rightly so, I may add. You know, but it's a great place, and we need to make it better. We need to attract business that isn't sponsored by government, that isn't. It needs to be private. It needs to be entrepreneurial. I think it needs to be dynamic. You know, and as soon as you put government fingers on any of those aspects, you've just killed it. So, you know, government bugger off, basically. Let's be facilitators and allow the entrepreneurs with their varied skill sets to come in and take advantage of, you know, what really is a great little part of Southwest Virginia. And we should be embracing this, not putting up roadblocks. And you know, it blows my mind that this closed door approach is crushing development within the town, particularly of Rocky Mount. There's no excuse for it.
Well, okay, so you go to law school, and I'm thinking if I'm somebody like you, I go off to school, then I go to law school. I'm thinking the world is my oyster. I can go anywhere, do anything. But you pretty much came straight back here, right?
I did.
Before your kids, though.
My son was born in 2010, and
okay,
and I passed the bar in 2010.
Okay, so you did already have a son when you decided to come back here and wanted to. Was there any other idea of anywhere else you wanted to go, or you just always wanted to stay here?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, it's same as you. It's a great community, but also, I mean, you know, my father was an attorney at the time, so I wanted to come back. I wanted to practice with him. I thought that would be, you know, everybody wants to spend time with their parents the older you get. And so we had a good 5-year run together. And that was part of the reason I wanted to come back here. I mean, you know, if I'm going to practice law, I want to practice law with somebody that, you know, I admire and want to be around. And so that's why I came back. But I'd also like to think down the road that, you know, if my son decides to go to law school, maybe we could practice together for a little bit of time, which would be a good time. So, you know, that's kind of, again, why I think we need to keep Rocky Mount growing, keep it moving forward. And then, of course, that gets people back here.
I've got a question. I mean, bearing in mind that we don't promote in that respect, this is very a non-standard way of getting a message out there. And I was thinking, you know, I've never met Holland before. How are we gonna gel? How's this gonna kick off? Is it gonna be adversarial or not? You know, I mean, he's an attorney. Good Lord, we've had quite a lot to say about attorneys in the past. I mean, I kind of want to get a feel about how you would consider running. I mean, I want to see some of the your attributes that you bring to the county, but how would you get away from the hole that we appear to be in at the moment? I mean, do you see term limits as a viable suggestion for? I mean, we think nationally term limits would be a darn good idea. I think regionally and locally term limits would be a good idea. The fact that, Steve Angle's been in the system for 32 years pretty much tells me what I need to know. So I'd be very keen to say, yeah, let's impose some term limits here. An 8-year run should be enough to make your mark. You're serving after all.
Yeah, and I said that at the NAACP forum we had. I think 8 years for mayor is plenty. I think 12 years for council is a good number. Yep. I mean, you've got to think the council. If a mayor's there for 8 years, you've got some guys that if a new mayor comes on, somebody's going to have to show the new mayor the way. And that's what a good council can do.
Yeah.
And that's why you need people there a little longer, I believe, on council. I mean, it's like being an attorney. You get a speeding ticket, you call me, I've done 1,000 of these. So to me, it's not really a big deal. It's real easy. I kind of get bogged down in this is just another thing. To you, it might be the first time you've ever gotten a speeding ticket. And so it's the same when it's local government. You've got to think, look, the people, when they need something, they go to the council, they go to the mayor, and they say, hey, look, this is my issue. They may have heard it 1,000 times, and so they just kind of look over it. That's not what we need. A lot of people, a lot of the doors we've talked to or knocked on and talked to people, they just want their voice to be heard. I can't say why they don't feel that way, but I think we can try to do that.
I think a lot of that actually stems from now. I have a history with the school board and have ruffled several feathers in that direction. And the issue has invariably been of representation. And I say that because as soon as someone gets elected into a position, at that point, the voter seems to take a back seat. And particularly on the school board, you'll get folks that are really acting without their constituents' best interests or wishes being taken into account. I'd like to, and that's where the loss of integrity and ethics comes in, because we want to hear with elected officials that they remain engaged with their constituents and they're actually answerable to their constituents, not on the day of election, which counts obviously, so you get voted in, but from there on after, you're to follow your constituents' wishes, which may be in conflict with your own. But at the end of the day, how do you bridge that gap? And that's a tough one. I think a lot of people don't appreciate how after an election has been delivered, the voice of the people actually goes in the toilet. And I've got concerns with that because I've seen it happen at the school board level. So, and there's been no way to get members of the school board off for, I think, some pretty serious misdeeds. But accountability for your constituents has always been a bit of a problem. And this goes across the board. I mean, this is across the pond as well. It's just like you get your MP in Parliament in London, and they all bugger off to London, and that's the last you see of them. It's the same thing here. I mean, everyone's in DC now. You've got lobbyists, throwing caseloads of money at you or your whatever, and you become disassociated with the very people that you're supposed to be representing. And I'd like to see people try and bridge that gap, and I think the only way that you can do it is by, if it's a pain in the arse, is lots of town halls, because when you go to these meetings, a town hall meeting, and you'll get your 3 minutes of speaking, absolutely no one gives a toss about it. They'll be rolling their heads, picking their teeth, and there is no response required. So there is no interaction with your elected official from the point of election onwards. And that engagement, I think, is part of the problem with apathy. It's just like, well, they're here to get the vote, but here on after, it doesn't matter what I say. So that engagement, I think, has got to be maintained throughout the service of that elected official's, term. But that's what we don't have. I don't know.
We don't have accessibility right now. I mean, it's difficult. Like I said earlier, it's, the town meetings are at an odd time and an odd day. There's really no way to find most of the town officials on social media, anything to that degree, so they interact, and that's kind of the new wave we're in. And I'm curious in seeing how you would think about that, because you being much younger than the typical candidate. I mean, you have a whole different perspective on this than the average person would.
And your engagement here actually is exactly what I think potential constituents want to see. It's the guy is engaging, with a couple of simpletons.
Yeah.
I quote.
Yeah.
That to me is a breath of fresh air. So I commend you for coming on the show to start with. And I'm wishing you all the best for unseating Angle, and remaining engaged with your constituents. So I don't know how you can remain engaged or keep your constituents engaged, and how the council works. I don't really know how the council works. Are they in districts, or they just put their names in a hat and you've got 6 or 7 of them and off you go? How do they remain engaged? Because I know with the school board, you're into that, and the board of supervisors at Franklin County, you're into your election districts. Here in the town of Rocky Mount, this seems to be a very different thing. You've just got to be a resident here and off you go, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm uptown, so my office is there. I'm around.
Yeah, I see you walking up all the time downtown.
Being accessible is the biggest thing, because most of them will just hide behind two layers of secured double doors, and with a secretary saying you can all bugger off, you peasants.
Well, I mean, I'm always be hopefully always be an attorney. So I mean, I'm always going to have my office there. Like I said, I mean, if you see me running or walking around town, I've had people stop me. I mean, I try to be as accessible as I can. I mean,
that's I think what we want to hear, right?
Well, look, and I know everybody's not going to agree with me all the time.
We don't have to,
and that's fine. And we can discuss what you disagree with and what what we disagree on. But I mean, at the end of the day, even though we're not always going to agree, we got to have communication. Like we're sitting here talking now. I may say something that I believe is a goal of mine. You may not agree with it. We can discuss it, and then we go on. We'll move on. But as far as accessibility, I mean, I'm just right up the street, right beside the courthouse.
That's a good thing. I mean, I love that. That's what you want to hear. Not hidden behind some double glass doors that are locked.
Well, and like it just goes back to transparency, and like I said, somebody that's your age coming in and doing this thing. What actually was it what was that moment like? I mean, when you decided you wanted to do it, what was it what was that spark that I mean, I know you wanted to do it, for your family. You'd mentioned that, but was there just one moment where you just said, this is something that has gone from something I'd like to do to something I have to do?
I think, I've been talking about it for about 8 years. And I've talked to various people about it multiple times, and it's always been, we'll see in 4 years. We'll see in 4 years. I think it's just the fact that we have such a great area that seems to be stagnant. And that's probably when it's like, okay, how can we make this area the best possible town that we already have? When you go to places like Floyd and they're booming and they've got all these great things going on, we have that infrastructure. The problem is I don't think we're utilizing it the right way. And that's where I think, we get some young new blood in there and we try to move things forward downtown. I think people here are ready for that.
And that's a very good point. I don't know how many people have been to Floyd or go to Floyd, but, I drive through there quite a bit with my job. And on Thursday or Friday evenings, a lot of the times when I drive through there in the evenings heading back to my work, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's not a very big downtown, but that downtown is
buzzing,
thriving.
Right?
There are people walking everywhere. They're entering restaurants. They're going in and out of boutiques. They're spending money. They're communicating. They're up there with our community. They're talking. They're having a good time. I would love to see that for Rocky Mount. I think that would be, and that's something that, like you said, the downtown, it's starting to get a facelift. And we're starting to get a few people to come in and out of here, but you have to look at the overall picture. You got the hotel that's and I had that whole rigmarole going on. We've got an empty building right there where the Burger King used to be. We've got empty buildings in these strip malls and things like that. Like, restaurants leaving and banks leaving are a sign of a town failing. It's not a sign of a town thriving. And new blood, irregardless, I think at least brings a unique perspective to things.
Yeah, the Burger King closing down, and arguably that was down to COVID. I mean, it was put right next to the high school and saw a lot of business just drop off. But for a Burger King to leave, and the same with Walgreens. You know, when Walgreens, and that's an empty building. I mean, brand new building. It took off. I mean, I don't know who did the market research, but you've got, 2 CVS's. You've got your Walmart pharmacy and your Kroger pharmacy.
Plus, we have a local pharmacy here, too. If it still exists on 40 West, next to the Maxway, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Cardinal?
I'm not sure if that's still up and running. But anyway, so you've got all of those. And who thought it was? I mean, they do their market research fairly extensively, but good Lord, did they get it wrong. But why would we grant a business license to open up when we've already got 4 or 5 of the bloody things? It's a bit like a Mexican restaurant. And now we're dealing with car parts. You know, how many car part... and now we got bloody Starbucks. Why couldn't they make it Dunkin' Donuts? Come on, man.
You're a Dunkin' man yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I find Starbucks is just a little too bitter. And the foo-foo stuff, I don't do that.
I don't really drink coffee myself much anyway. And if I do, I like the ones up here in town. I think Whole Bean's pretty good. My wife loves going there and it's, it's a local joint too. So I always tend to want to spend my money with.
But look at the attractions that we have here. I mean, yeah, we do have the Harvester. I mean, that is an attraction, regardless of how badly it's run and the basis of how it opened. That is a feature. We got a fantastic farmers market that can only grow bigger. I mean, we've got some really quaint downtown premises. There's opportunity here to explore, and I just think we need to be just opening ourselves up for innovation. Some of these business parks that kick around here. I mean, the success of some of the Franklin County business parks, particularly the new one, and that's another contentious issue. That's another day away from another story, I'm sure. But, all of these things, if they're successful, it can jointly improve the whole living standard and opportunities within this fantastic county. Not just Rocky Mount, but Rocky Mount being the seat, I think, has the greatest opportunity to succeed, because everyone's success breeds, funnily enough, success. Wow, what a concept.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you say.
Well, most people prefer to do that because Simon has that way with people. But so let's say you win this election. What is the first thing you would like to do as mayor of Rocky Mount? What is your ultimate goal in your first few months?
Well, the council does the voting. And so, you've got to, first things first, we've all got to get together and say, look, what is everybody's goal for Rocky Mount? What can we do to make it grow, make it better, and then, of course, make all the voters and the citizens happy? Because not all the people that live in the town vote.
Well, not a lot of them want change. Some of them don't want change.
Well, but like anything, you have to continue progress, or, well, then it'll be gone.
Yep.
We just won't have a town. But I think, once you get in there and everybody sits down and talks, I think term limits are something that need to happen sooner than later. And I don't say that for any other reason that's been brought up, but we need to start saying, look, we need new ideas faster than we don't need me there for 8, 10, 12, 15 years. We've got to get new people wanting to be a part of that. Part of that is, I believe, is finding a way to raise the council's pay and get them some benefits, because it'll get younger people wanting to be involved. Right now, if you're giving somebody $6,500 as a salary for a year, it's hard for somebody to work all day and say, okay, I'm going to go listen to people being mad at me for $6,500. And I'm not saying go really high, but I'm saying that, you've got to find a way to get people wanting to be involved, give them an incentive to be there. And that's part of what starts that progress.
I'm on board with that. I mean, and it's almost counterintuitive to suggest it, but you've got to look into the dynamics of that. But are you prepared to maybe look at some of the financial transparencies of bygone years, recent years, where I think there's been a lot of contention about mismanagement, and it can go a lot further and more serious than mismanagement at the moment. I'm being extremely polite by saying mismanagement, but I think there's been some very poor financial decisions, contracts, and I'll hold it at mismanagement at the moment. I'd like to see a little bit more transparency in that regard, particularly with what's been going on over the last few years, because there's something if it doesn't smell right, chances are it probably isn't. And there's something going on that I think needs a little bit more in-depth transparency and some financial, what's the word I'm looking for?
Accountability.
Accountability, yeah. Because I don't think if we don't address some of the errors and misdeeds that have gone on in the recent past, you can't just brush those under the rug, because I think there's been some pretty serious misdeeds. Would you be prepared to take that on?
I think we've got to move forward. I mean, I just do.
Yeah, but I know that's sort of looking back a little bit, but the accountability of misdeeds really, I think, poses,
if for nothing else, to learn from where the mistakes were made.
Well, and how they were made, because it's a lack of transparency that I think has allowed some of the shenanigans to occur. And again, lack of engagement, you know.
Well, and Holland brought up an interesting point I'd like to go back into. You know, when I asked him, the first thing he would do as mayor, he said, well, you know, the council does vote on it a lot. So, you know, for everybody out there that's listening, and I know there's a lot of people that don't really understand how this all works. So if you were Joe, because I know Joe's very well versed in this kind of stuff, just kind of explain to everybody what are the job, what is the job description of a mayor? What can he do? What can he not do? What is he allowed to do? Kind of like explain to them where his whole authority stands in conjunction with the town council and, you know, on a personal level.
Well, I think the mayor provides a guiding view. The mayor serves in many ways in many of the ceremonial positions, but the mayor has an essential role in guiding the council, running the meetings, and making sure that people feel welcome to come up and express their views. I also think, in what we were, just to go back a little bit, there is a difference between course correction and finger pointing. I don't think anyone in Rocky Mount benefits from 4 years of pointing fingers and saying you did this and you did that, but we do have to make sure that we correct the course and we prevent some of the things that have happened from possibly happening again. It comes from good management, and the key to good management, I think, in a municipality is listening. You have to represent the people who put you there. And not just the people who voted for you, but all the people. You have to, and listening, I agree with you in the sense that if we all put our heads together, we're going to come up with the best way to go forward. And in much of the way, that's the mayor's, you know, the mayor doesn't vote except in a tie-breaking situation, but the mayor sets the tone. And anyone who doesn't understand that, I really do encourage you, whether you understand it or not, to get to a town council meeting. It's the tone of the way the town moves forward is what the mayor sets.
Now, how many county council members are there?
6.
Huh, that's interesting. Why would there be 6? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Well, because the tiebreaker.
If you have,
well, then that gives the mayor the ability to do the tiebreaker if there is, I suppose. So you know that makes sense, I guess.
I mean, I
there have been
suppose
very few ties.
Right. I mean, you know, we're over at the school board seeing that. Was it 4 and 4? There's basically 8 folks that can vote on the school board, and that's just ridiculous. But because the superintendent doesn't have a casting vote, so now you're looking at stagnation. Now I understand the dynamic that with 6 voting councillors, if there's a tie break, then the mayor has the casting vote. That doesn't exist at the school board. So I understand that dynamic. So yeah, 6 with the casting vote makes perfect sense, because that stops that stagnation, which really has been a problem of the school board. Has been stagnation.
And I think a lot of times when we talk about there's the meeting on Monday. The council tries to come up to a consensus before the voting happens. But I think sometimes we're left out of the discussion in that. And there's nothing wrong with the discussion of coming to the consensus.
Yeah. Let's address that, actually, because that's been on my mind for the last couple of days. And again, this is from my ignorance, all right? So I'm not that familiar with how the council works. With the closed meetings, are there minutes posted or available?
No.
Why not?
Well, there are very specific rules in the Code of the Commonwealth about why you can have a closed-door session. And those are largely employee-related, contractual negotiations, etc. And while those are specific rules, they're rather broad as well as to what you can discuss. And at the end of the day, you're dealing with human beings, and when people want to discuss things, they'll discuss things.
I'm a little bit conflicted with business going on behind closed doors, particularly with some of the malpractice allegations that have come to light over the last few days.
Well, I think the closed door meetings are important. One, they're by code. And two, I mean, if there's a piece of land that the town's trying to buy, you don't want to be doing the bidding out in public, because then you've got a problem there. I mean,
yeah,
you're going to have people running things up on the town, and so next thing you know, you're paying more money or things go that way. So, I mean, there's a reason they're closed.
Summit Business Park, case in point.
Right. But there's a reason the code has these closed door meetings. Now, I believe they should be stuck to what the code allows. And I'm not saying that that's not what's going on. But I mean, if we're talking about employees or we're talking about purchasing property, it should be handled the way the code requires.
That actually, I understand. I appreciate that. It's just that does promote a lack of engagement and an underhand suspicion. I don't know how you get around that, because I appreciate you have to conduct certain business.
Well, maybe even the closed door sessions aren't necessarily as much of an issue when you are discussing things like this. When you call an emergency closed door, then what's really going on? I mean, what kind of emergency are we in right now? So that does pique the interest of the voters, I think. So, I mean, a normal session where you're, discussing things like that about, property and things like that, I guess, although I don't see where the town or any government entity should be in the business of buying up property. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but isn't that a pertinent question on Tuesday that would be, say, you've just had a closed door meeting with potentially what we consider a crisis situation with, the podcast and Philip Lane. You can ask the question, but at that open public meeting, you're not going to get an answer because they're not obliged to answer you.
Well, I think the memo that went out, I think it says it's a personnel issue. So that's what you've got to assume they're talking about. And I mean, that again has to be behind closed doors, because it's not.
Totally understand. I totally understand. But then you have a lack of engagement at the public meeting, because no one's obliged to tell you or answer any questions that you have. You can make a statement and they just look at you, sucking their teeth and blowing bubble gum and whatever they do behind their
I've seen some meetings where people are just falling asleep up there right on the stand. I mean, it does happen.
Well, and after a private closed door meeting, they do all have to certify that things that weren't supposed to be talked about weren't talked about behind closed doors, and that they did follow the business. And
but is there anybody there that can confirm that? Is there anybody, maybe an independent source, an independent individual?
No, just the council.
So it's just going off their word.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I guess you won't trust me after I win.
No, I mean, look, I trust people. Well, and I think that's why this podcast has been a success that it has been, is because I have the ability to look at somebody and in 3 minutes I can read them like a book. Yeah. You have to do that. And in Iraq, when you're going up and down the road every single day out of the turret, and you're having to scan 1,000 rooftops every 2 seconds, 1,000 faces, 1,000 alleyways, you really learn to look at eyes in a really, really fast manner. And you really learn to look at body language and intentions and things like that. So, if it's somebody doing it, I'm gonna put my trust in the person, not the process. I put my trust in the person, not the system.
Yeah.
If I have enough trust in enough people that are in the system, then I can trust the system. But the problem is right now, I don't have enough trust in the people that are in the system. And that's what I want. I want people that can be trusted within that system. I want people that can be transparent. They're going to actually go out there and speak to their constituents. So they're going to be made available and that have good intentions.
Well, there's another classic little saying that came out of the sandbox. It's not waterboarding if you use diesel.
I believe that's what we call a loophole.
Well, I think the closed door meetings, like any action, has a consequence, and you can tell the intent or really what the closed door meeting was about by what comes from it,
or what's come before it.
But it's come before it, and we'll see what comes from the closed door meeting, and sometimes they have some tough consequences that folks have to then be held accountable.
But with the complacency of 32 years in office. And that feeds complacency enormously. I think you're going to have a problem with codes of conduct because I've had private discussions, and I'm not going to say with whom and about what, but the code of conduct behind closed door meetings has not been adhered to.
That's very possible.
And there's a bomb.
And once again, like I said, the last few days I've had a lot of people contacting us saying, "Hey, this is going on, and I'm not going to go out there and blow people's doors up. I'm not going to give away sources or anything, but it gives me a lot of pause. And honestly, like you said earlier, I have the utmost amount of respect for you all even showing up here today, because a lot of people they would just rather ride by the fray and just kind of ignore it and go. People don't want to put their names out there. They don't want to put themselves out there because they're scared of making a mistake. But everybody makes mistakes. Look, everybody has problems. Everybody makes wrong decisions. But at the end of the day, you just have to own up to them and figure out a way to, okay, so how do we not do this next time? And I think it's where we're solely lacking. And, with Holland here, I know he's a very decorated individual and, comes from a good family. A family has been a part of this town for an awful long time. In fact, your grandpa goes back to quite a few. I think his name come up in the Moonshine book back there quite a few times.
The implication is, riddle me this.
Well. On one hand, representing the Moonshiners, and on the other hand, having the Moonshiners stand before them in court. So, you do have a good feel for this town. You really do. You have a good understanding. I guess what exactly is it what are your plans? What, for all the things that's been going on here lately and all just a contentious nonsense, what do you plan to do in your 4 years? When you walk away, if you could walk away in 4 years and you didn't get in again and that's all you got, what would you consider a success?
Well, I think it's just one. I think the big success would be people say, "Look, he listened." It might not be the best thing to have, but as long as people say that they were able to talk to me and I listened to them and we tried to help in any way we could, I'd like to see us get the Harvester, the budget balanced the best we can. I don't think it can ever show. Maybe over time it can show a profit, and I'm not really worried about the profitability of the Harvester. I want to see the loss come down. I think, if we can get that under control, have it sponsored. I'm not throwing out sponsorship names, but Roanoke's the Berglund Center. If you can knock that loss down by doing the advertising, you can find money there.
That is a very libertarian point of view. That's a very libertarian strategy right there. I like that, and very much so. And just simple things like, I don't know, what kind of control does the town or the mayor have over the Harvester?
Well, the mayor only votes if it's a tie. Again, you go back to that, but I think that, and Joe said this, there's a tone. And I think there's a reason there's not seven council members. There's a reason there's 6 and a mayor. And
you have that casting vote, so that actually gives you a bit of ownership with how policy is being crafted. So I'm fully for the way it's currently designed. I think that's the right way because it gives you influence and ownership over policy decision, and that's a good thing.
Well, and I don't want to take anything from the guys that are there now. Regardless if we get along on every issue or if I agree with them on every issue, including Mayor Engel, I've talked to all of them. I believe they believe what they're doing is what they believe is the best Rocky Mountain. we differ on certain opinions on certain things. And so I want to say that. I mean, I've talked to everybody that's on council since I've started running. They've all been very open to talk to me, and I appreciate that. Steve and I have sat down and had lunch. I appreciate that. But again, I have just a different vision. But I think all of us really want what's best for Rocky Mount. It's just what we believe is what's best.
Well, I guess my question is, like, what does the town have to do? What decisions does the town make for the harvester? I mean, do they just put people in place to make those decisions? Do they have any kind of say-so over how it's operated, how it's ran? I'm just because as somebody who loves music, you can see around this room, I've got posters up where I've followed music forever. I love it. Why? Whatever is going on down there. So you got the hotel trying to come down there, and as a music nerd, if you could get some of these bands that have cult followings, get them to come in, and not just for one night. You get them to come in to play 2, maybe even 3 nights, because a lot of these bands, they run 3-night runs, and their fans will travel a long ways to come, and they'll say, well, hey, they're playing 3 nights here. Let's come here. Let's get a hotel room or a bed and breakfast or anything around here. They stay here for 3 days. They eat at our restaurants for 3 days. They go spend money at the Harvester for 3 days. So I guess I just don't understand the dynamics of where the town fits into this and what kind of decisions they make for the harvester.
Rocky Mount, like all the other towns in Virginia and the cities, have a town manager or a city manager. And they're the ones who do the day-to-day administration and facilitation of the government, but they serve at the will of the council. So it is the town manager's office that would actually go through and manage those things. And as far as the harvester goes, they have put in place a third party to manage the facility as it is now.
Well,
and that's their responsibility. So they've actually delegated their responsibility and management to a third party, which yet incurs more fees and more cost to the taxpayers of this municipality. That just sounds bizarre. Now, there's a guy being paid $150,000 to do the damn job with an assistant who's close to 6 figures, and he delegates it to a third party. Shouldn't that scream red flag? What is going on here?
Well, I just, like I said,
I don't want people in government managing what should be a private business. So there's the lunacy behind that policy. I mean, it's complete madness.
Again, and I'm speaking just for myself here, I think part of the frustration of some folks is that the person managing it is not here locally to manage it. They're
that's a huge
in
problem.
Charlotte. So,
dear God,
and I'm not
it gets worse.
I'm not
so
pandering.
It gets worse.
I'm not pandering to you on this, but
no.
If you look at the crown jewels in England, the person who's protecting them isn't in France. They're there in the Tower of London protecting them on site.
Wearing a funny hat.
Wearing a funny hat. So,
and a sword.
I think that the town has made an investment in the harvester, and I hope that it continues, and I hope that it can be successful. I think it just needs, like some other things in the town, some better management.
Well, I think the harvesters, the idea of itself is phenomenal, but I think, not promoting local bands, which I thought in the beginning was one of the reasons they decided to do this, is that we want to promote local music. We got the Crooked Road here. We've got so many phenomenal artists, with ties to this town, from this town. And it's been a very long time since I've looked at the list and said, wow, that's somebody I recognize from around here. I just want to get some local acts back in here. That's one part of it.
Well, I think buy-in and ownership is important, not just with the harvester, but with the town itself. If a citizen wants to come and express an opinion, they have a right to express that opinion. And you don't have an obligation as the elected official to agree with them, but I think you have the obligation to listen. And the fact that there's some issues with listening to people just causes people to throw their hands up and walk away in frustration. Being able to listen and participate gives you ownership, and you have a stake in it, and you want to see it succeed.
Well, I think you need to have local acts every month. I think part of it is this month we've got two shows. Well, what are we doing the other 25 days? We have nothing going on there. Local acts would get attention. It would bring people to the harvester that may not normally go to the harvester. And of course, you've got schools that could do plays, or they could have their
Absolutely.
Their talent shows. I mean,
wedding receptions, tons of things.
If nothing's going on in the harvester, we've got a building that's a nice building. Let's utilize it. We don't just need to have just great bands come there. We need to make sure that the community can use it because the community's paying for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a vision. Thank you very much. Well done, Holland.
And I think it's a great concept. I'm not a fan of the fact that the town has anything to do with it. I wish it would become privatized, but I do like the idea of sponsoring it. I think that's a good way to meet in the middle, is having some kind of sponsorship come in here, have local acts be promoted more frequently, and maybe even find a way to work out to where, hey, if you got a really big act in here, why don't we have a local act come open up for them? That way they get a little bit of press, they get a little bit more prestige, and you know what? Maybe they go away and they end up being a band that makes something of themselves, and they come back into this town and reinvest back into it. Like, you want feel good people, and as much as I love music, I've been solely disappointed, and I'm going to put this on record too. I was really, the whole vaccine mandate thing, and I'm not going to ask anybody to comment on this because this is my own opinion, but that was abhorrent and that was ridiculous. It's like the only place in this entire area that was requiring that, and how dare you require vaccines for the citizens who didn't even want it in the first place in order for them to even go spend their time and money there, have to get you know what I mean? Like, so that right there irritated the snot out of me. So that's a big reason why I'm so taken aback, and it's so hard for me to support that place in its current form. But with all that being said, I really want it to succeed. I really want somebody to come in there and make things right.
Well, here's something that struck me as a venue that could be used for graduation. We know that the high school, and this is it just strikes me as bizarre that they're putting graduation at a facility and a venue up in Bedford County. So Bedford County is receiving the benefit in tax dollars of the kids graduating. This happened the last 2 years at the high school, to a venue where the tax dollars benefit Bedford County from a Franklin County high school. Now, why are you sending...
For graduation?
Yeah.
I always thought they did graduation up at the football field.
Yeah, they do it at the football
field. That was
field.
prom. Was it prom? Whatever it was. But they these venues, that was a prime example. You could have had that venue right there.
That's a fair point. I didn't even pay attention to that.
There was another prom that was held at the Early Inn that was done privately. But, the shenanigans of sending tax dollars out of county when we have the option to earn tax dollars within the county and within the municipality of, Rocky Mount. If we're not taking advantage of these and someone isn't questioning, how can we increase our revenue here? And then they're doing the complete opposite of sending someone up to Roanoke or whatever the case may be. That's a key loss.
So what I wanted to ask this as well. What exactly, when it comes to the town employees, what kind of power does the mayor have when it comes to town managers, assistant town managers, all the rest of this stuff? Does the mayor have the ability to go in, reconstruct contracts, sign new contracts for employees? I mean, how does that work?
No.
Yeah, it's still at the council's discretion. I mean, there's only 3 jobs that are they work directly for the council. It's the town manager, it is the town clerk, and it is the town attorney.
And the assistant town manager.
No, he works at the discretion of the town manager. So you don't the council
dynamic.
Does not hire the assistant town manager.
When there's nearly a 6-figure salary involved in that position?
That's the budget.
Okay, so I mean, we've got some mechanics here that I think need reviewing for sure. Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that you've got those 3 positions that answer to the town council. But the most important of those is the town manager, arguably. And so that person does answer to the council. So when there are things going on that the council doesn't agree with, it's not a chance to throw your hands up and go, well, I don't control it. No, you do. The town manager serves at your will.
To a degree, but I'd love to know who thought having a third party to run the harvester in North Carolina, so those to really give me strength. What the hell's going on? That to me is a complete loss of control.
You've got to have somebody book the acts, and that's what's going on, and that's what...
That can be done from here. I used to work in Turks and Caicos, and we booked musical acts to come down to the island from various parts of the US. That can be done completely off-site, which is the case. They've got them in North Carolina.
Or maybe finding somebody with the abilities to do something like that, which, I mean, I guess these days it could be something as simple as an email or a phone call. I get your point.
But how much are we paying this third party?
Now, that's the question.
So we know automatically that off the top, that's a margin. We know that that's negatively affecting the margin and profitability of the harvester. And this is a big subject.
Something could entertain an entire episode, actually. It really is. It's really tough to get into when you're trying to be limited for time, which we kind of are, because I know Holland's very busy. So I know we're getting ready to get out of here because you all have another engagement. So I guess what I want you to do is Holland, I just want you to take this moment to just address the constituents out here and kind of let them know, why they should vote for you and your campaign speech, essentially, because I know it's really difficult to get out there and get this information to the people because, a lot of people can't make it out to whatever events you might go to, or they might not, catch your ads if they're in the paper or anything. So this is an opportunity. Just why should the constituents put their faith into you?
Well, I think there's, one, I would say just vote. It really doesn't matter if you vote for me or who you vote for, cancel. Just vote. Because once you do that, you're taking, you're speaking, okay, so to speak, without using your words. You're voting, and that's key number one. But I've said why I want to run. You visit my Facebook page. I want to see Rocky Mount really, really be great,
prosper.
It not only prosper, but I mean, you have to just keep looking forward. Okay, and I think that's the main thing, and that's my goal, is for the town to move forward, grow, great progress, get the buildings that are empty full, and again, going back to what I started with, get our children back to the community. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, everybody loves for their kids to be here and their grandkids to be here. If we've got the jobs and we've got the business, people will continue to come here, and it will continue to grow. And so that's kind of my vision. Again, it starts with voting. No matter what, just vote.
Well, that's a constitutional duty that many people ignore. And, I'm a big fan of your constitutional duty. And voting is definitely top of the list.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think the biggest question that is on everybody's mind, and might be the difference in you getting elected, not getting elected, but can you bring God's chicken, Chick-fil-A, into this town? And if you can, and you can tell us right now, if you can let everybody know that, I think you would seal the deal if you could just say, I have at least.
Give it a good college try, I think, is the best we can get out.
I'm going to tell you what, if you brought a Chick-fil-A in here, I think people will be lined up out the churches all the way to the street saying, I got that guy. He brought Chick-fil-A here.
This campaign angle. Think about it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up there because I know you got to get out of here. Holland, thank you so much for coming on here. We certainly appreciate your time. We appreciate what you're doing. And, from somebody that's, I guess, part of my generation as well, I really like to see us getting involved in politics because I don't think we do it enough. And we touched on that a little bit earlier. It's difficult. And like you said, it's hard to want to go justify, $7,600 a year or whatever it was to come up here and listen to a bunch of old people like Simon come up and gripe at you about how bad you're doing.
I'd sooner be applauding you, quite frankly.
Exactly. So I think getting some young people in here. I really like the fact, I don't know much about him, Ben Mullins. I think he's running for town council. He's young. I like that. I'd like to get him on here, maybe speak with him a little bit about some of his intentions. And it's no disrespect to the older guys that are there, but you have to look at reality and say, well, yeah, you have to find a way to reach younger people. And it's a whole lot easier for somebody like Holland to reach younger people, not only because he's closer to them in age, but he also has children that he always has to look out for. So I know that you are constantly paying attention to what's going on. You're constantly looking at what the world's doing because it affects your kids, and you're going to make decisions based off of that.
And those will be the good ones.
Exactly, because your kids are going to be affected when you're 75 years old and all your kids are 50 years old, and
along with Chick-fil-A.
Exactly, yeah. So Chick-fil-A and just bringing some young blood into it. I think the town really needs a shake up, and I really think that people need to pay attention to what's going on. I need you to listen to this show. Listen to the last one. Listen to the ones that are coming up here in the future. And what day are we going to vote? It's November 3rd?
8th.
Okay.
November 8th.
But there's early voting now. You can go right now to the Registrar and vote now through November 5th. And the last day to register to vote is October 17th.
Excellent. So everybody hears that October 17th. Get in there, get registered, and get up there and just show up. And
vote. It is your constitutional duty to vote. And I really hope that Holland gets in here because I think he's got the innovation and vision and the exuberance in which to get some jobs done.
And with that being said, I still welcome anybody and everybody out there that's running for office to come get on the show. Once again, we'll afford you the same.
If you're allowed to.
If you're allowed to, we'll afford you the same respect. And get out there and vote. And get out there in a couple of days on Tuesday and show up to the meeting. Show up to the town council meeting. Show up there and let them know, hey, we've been paying attention. We're listening.
We're listening to
and
you.
Hey, and if you got nothing else better to do and you're unemployed and you want something to do, why don't you just get a ton of y'all to go out there and sit outside of the building tomorrow for their closed door session and just let them see you sitting there and let them know you just waiting on the doors to open tomorrow night. Just let them know you're engaged. Let them know you're there. Otherwise, they're never gonna make decisions that are in your favor because they're never gonna think about you. You just have to be there. You have to be you have to be familiarized with what's going on and just give a damn about our community. You know what I mean? Like, we can have our differences. We can disagree on things. I mean, Joe and I right here and you, we probably disagree. So if we were on the internet, we'd probably be slinging insults at each other left and right. But we can come in here and sit down and have a decent enough conversation because we're human. And that's
rather
what we
civilized,
need.
actually, not simple.
Very civilized, and we need to. So, for that all being said, I just want to thank y'all gentlemen so very much for showing up here.
I'm going to make a plug a bit later on once these fellas have.
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll
sit there and we'll talk a few more things before they leave. And let me just make a disclaimer. Anything Simon and I say after these gentlemen have left in no way, shape, or form represent them or anything that they stand for, because we certainly respect them showing up here. So
absolutely.
So Joe, Holland,
we commend you.
We certainly appreciate it, and hopefully we can get y'all back on here maybe for a victory podcast. So
hey, I appreciate it.
No problem. Let us know.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, so certainly we're back. Certainly appreciate Holland, Perdue, and Joe Stanley and everybody showing up here. And we just kind of wanted to, before we get out of here, kind of talk about our, give our synopsis of everything in the last couple of days. And, Simon, he likes to talk, and me, I like to talk. And we'll try and figure it out. We've got a lot more elections than... Well, first off, let's get to that. We've got a lot more elections than just the town council. So we've got the board of supervisors. Is the school board, any elections going on with that this go round?
Not this go round that I'm aware of. But I know the Snow Creek Board of Supervisors position is up for after the death of the previous Snow Creek candidate, which is a tragic story. But nonetheless, the position is being. I think it's going to be fairly well contested, and we've got to be very cautious about how we do these contested votes, because what you end up doing with having so many candidates on the ticket is that you end up diluting the vote, and that should be a concern. Now, there can be some tactical shenanigans behind doing this too, and I'm not even going to suggest that at this point. But there's a candidate out there that I know personally. He's put himself out there because he's a constitutionalist, and that's what I consider myself. And his name is Ron Shiflett. He may not be as well known as some of the other folks on that ticket, but I know what he's looking to do, and that's to get internet access out in Snow Creek. Snow Creek has been a very poorly supported area in this county, particularly with regards to internet. So I know he's strongly pushing for that.
That's something we should have brought up on this show. Or maybe not. Nah, this show didn't really matter because Rocky Mount has all the internet.
We've all got the high-speed access you can get. But you see, Snow Creek doesn't. He's also about that accountability that we're all looking for. So he kind of fits the bill and ticks the box there as well. He's in for local development, supporting local people. He's talking about school choice. And that to me, that's an important issue. because what's going on in the current school system, as we have discussed over a number of episodes, quite frankly, is not on. But how that's addressed that's an epic battle, I feel. But he's in for school choice. Again, he's a constitutionalist. He supports the sheriff. He does. He's not looking to defund. So, with that all being said, the guy's out there, and it's a heavily contested district for the Board of Supervisors. And I just feel that with the attributes that he brings and his political stance, I think very much supports, the majority of folks in this area. I'm not saying that we're conservatives and what have you, but at least we're open-minded enough to say, yeah, we can stick behind the Constitution. We can talk about school choice. We can talk about local development. We can talk about improving internet access into areas that historically have been poorly supported. And Ron Shiflett really is the man that is looking to address these matters and really let people get on and take care of business. And that's one of the biggest things that local government does, is get in the way, which is what we're seeing with the Morris Hotel development. I think the local council has horribly interfered and obstructed this great opportunity. And Ron Shiflett is one of the guys that is not going to be looking to put fingers in all the pies and let people take care of business and support it. So he's going to be one of these guys that we're all talking about being facilitators. And that to me these are the guys that we want in public office, because they're going to support local communities. And these are exactly what we want.
Well, I think we should also, when you talk about these contended races, I also think we need to start bringing up the questions of ranked choice voting. And I don't know if anybody really understands how that goes, but it would really give the opportunity for third-party candidates and people that might not just go off the mainstream to really get a chance. And if we can vote on our Heisman Trophy winner for college football with ranked choice voting, think about this. So the last election, let's say the top three candidates, and I'm going to use the presidential election, as a very easy example. You had Donald Trump. You had the guy that's in office right now. And then you had Joe Jorgensen, who was a Libertarian Party candidate. Now, I voted for Joe Jorgensen. I had to hold my nose to do it. I really wasn't a fan of her campaign, given everything that was going on. The Libertarian Party failed to get that message out there how they should have. They should have been out there against these lockdowns, against these mandates, against these riots, against all this nonsense. And they just kind of went along and did their typical Libertarian Party, middle of the road, appeasement kind of nonsense. So it was really difficult to vote for her, but I did. That being said, for anybody that is interested in Libertarian Party, that whole former regime of Beltway libertarians that just pander, that just want a seat at the table in D.C. just so they can matter, they are gone. Libertarian Party now has real people who are just like me, who are not afraid to stand up, who are not afraid to say the difficult things. So give them a chance. But with the ranked choice voting, so you have those three. Well, you rank them by number. So if you wanted to vote for Donald Trump, you rank him number 1. You say, well, I hate Joe Biden, so I'm going to rank him number 3, and you rank Joe Jorgensen number 2. Well, all the libertarians might say, well, I want Jorgensen number 1, Trump 2, and Biden 3. Or, the Democrats, Biden 1, Jorgensen 2, Trump 3. At the end of the day, you have a very much more contested election when you add up those numbers and find out where do the people really stand. Yeah, I really do hate Biden, but I also hate him a whole lot worse than I do Trump or Jorgensen, so I definitely rank them above him. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, that would just give all the power to the Democrats. And the other side says, well, that's to give all the power to the Republicans. No, it gives the power to the people to get out there and give themselves a chance to say, okay, well, I don't want one or the other because I think they both kind of suck. So let's rank them. And that way we can at least come up with a better consensus.
What a concept. We the people. Yeah, I this is a revolutionary here. Oh, from an Englishman. Bloody hell. Watch out.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine us actually having a little bit more power and say it. And right now, the Democrat and the Republican Party really go out of their way to make sure nobody else has that ballot access. I mean, they spend millions of dollars every single year to keep these people out of the elections. And it's really tough because if you don't get 10% of the vote, or if you're not polling at 10%, then you don't even get to get on the debate stage. And I think it's absurd that we only have two people up there talking about what changes need to be done to this country. And typically it's two people who are very out of touch with the younger population, who really are the backbone of this country. And at any given time, at one point in time, I was the backbone of this country. And at some point in time, I'm not going to be. And I probably shouldn't be making the same decisions as I'm doing right now. But, you know, you just have to put things into perspective like that.
You know, we had this discussion on, I think we touched on it with Philip, in so much as locally, when it comes to local elections, I think the two-party system is almost irrelevant. And I'm very pleased to be able to say that.
Well, it should be, because the last two people we've had on the show, both are running for office. Neither time did their political affiliation come up.
Got no idea
know whether the Democrats are. I don't know what.
Got no idea. We're voting on their merits for supporting the local community, and that's a very valid statement. When it comes to state and regional positions, I think the bite of the two-party system then becomes you can't get away from it. Rightly or wrongly, and certainly when it comes to national politics, that's what you're stuck with. But I think here, when we're talking about local elections, I think you can have libertarians that stand up and become very attractive and garnish, a lot more votes than they would on the regional or national stage. Same with independents, and as Billy has just said, I've got no idea who Holland. Who his political leanings are toward, and same with Philip Blaine. I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care, because I'm judging them as to how they're going to affect us locally, and that's all I need to know. So they can put whatever banner they want behind their logos or whatever, and say, well, actually, I'm a conservative, this, so, or Republican, whatever. But it actually doesn't hold a lot of relevance, because you want the depth of the man or the woman, and I'm using both genders. There are no others. Oh, there's something contentious. I knew I could get something out there. So
how dare you?
Yeah, I know that's a bit of a shocker. But you want the integrity and the ethics of the individual, and I think in local elections, I think that actually supports the local community a lot better than the two-party system. So I'm really delighted that we haven't brought up and said, oh, the Republican candidate for, the town council is so-and-so, or the Democrat, or the progressive, or the LGBT, ABCD, what the hell ever. It's irrelevant. We're talking about, the quality of the individual. And that has impact locally.
Absolutely, and as far as I'm concerned, and I don't really throw my hat in the ring very often for anybody, and that's why I will give this mic to anybody that wants to come on here and they want to speak. If they want to come on here and talk about why they want to do things, just like Holland did tonight. Hopefully, we'll get Philip back on before the election, so we can actually talk about his candidacy and not so much about the hotel, but let's talk about him for a second, because that was a phenomenal show.
Yes, it was.
And me personally, what I gained from that, after meeting him, I met him the day before, took a tour. Then the next day, went back down there with a tour with Simon again right before we came up here and did the show. And as I alluded to earlier, I can read people fairly quick. And maybe we brought this up at the beginning. I don't think I did, simply because I'm not trying to drag Holland into other messes or other situations.
Or he said, she said. Crap.
Exactly. And situations that he doesn't, have any control over at the moment. But with that being said, after speaking with him for a while and kind of getting a little bit of part of his history, it's fairly obvious to see why they don't want him on the town council at this point in time, why they're being so frivolously against him, and the comments on the internet I've seen from a town official, a town councilman, Ben Pinker, just embarrassing himself. It's because Philip Bain has a lot of experience in forensic auditing. He knows, and this is just off of things he told us and on the show as well. That's his history. He went in and did these kind of things. He went into bankrupt businesses. He looked around. He knows the places to look. And it appears to me, this is just my opinion, that the town council and the mayor and anybody that may be a part of these situations that are suppressing some of these businesses from coming in here, they don't want somebody with his skill set coming in and snooping around. And hey, that's the way I look at it. And I think he's an intelligent person. I think he has no reason to be on town council. Like Holland and them said, $7,600 is probably not a thought in his mind. And I only say that based off of all the money he's had to spend just to be able to keep things going here. And even after he told us that I will continue to spend just because that's what's right. So he doesn't need the money. He obviously doesn't. I mean, I don't think he cares about politics. He's not a politician, but he has an obligation now, and I think they want to keep him out for his skill set because who knows what's going to be dug up.
Well, the very fact that they managed to pass on that video footage, and it clearly had to come from the internals of town council. And I would like that to be investigated because, that is a despicable act of character assassination or attempted character
from
assassination.
From what I'm hearing in the local offices, and once again, these are sources, that the town council and some town employees and perhaps, other officials, they're very good at being able to dodge things that could be brought up in FOIA requests. They are very good. And from what I hear, perhaps that this video was sent from a private phone, to this investigator. So it would make it very difficult to go in there and get discovery if there was any kind of a lawsuit or anything like that. So they're very good at this kind of stuff. So, I'm like you, I want investigations done. I don't want investigations done into a lot of this stuff, but it's definitely an uphill battle, irregardless of how you look at it from here.
But I also don't want it done at taxpayer expense, which is where they, I think, have been abusing some of the litigious aspects of their operation because they have a bottomless pit of access to legal representation that you and I don't.
Yeah.
So they can just say, you know what, let's just make this bloody difficult for someone. Get the attorney in here. Let's just throw a smoke screen and drag our heels. We don't have, and again, that's not going to affect their personal purse.
No. So
we would be very cautious about how we would consider litigation. They don't have to have that caution. That's the dynamic.
It's taxpayer dollars. It doesn't matter.
That's the dynamic, and that accountability is what I'm after. Because that sort of waste, a frivolous waste on obstructionism, just cannot be tolerated. I mean, and these FOIA requests, $1,400 for how many pages that's been up on the internet. You got to be kidding me. So we know that. If it smells fishy, it probably is fishy, right?
Yeah. And once again, I will address anybody that's running for office right now that I'll use the same example that your paid goons with badges use. If you got nothing to hide, then what are you worried about? That's what I always like to say about us citizens. Well, if we don't want to go speak to an official or speak to a law officer, what have you got to hide? Well, I'm asking y'all, if you don't want to come on here, then what do you have to hide? We will, like I said, once again, we'll afford you the same treatment that we've given everybody else, whether we agree with you or not. And I know it's difficult. I really know it's difficult, and I know it's difficult for Holland to come on here because he is a newcomer. And I still, at the end of the day, respect him even coming on here in the first place. Because these guys, like you said, I think after that town meeting tomorrow, they're not going to be caught dead coming anywhere around us. And that's fine. That's not going to stop us. That's not going to stop us from, speaking. That's not going to stop people from feeding us information, sources. And these sources trust us, for one, because we tell it. We speak it. Mm-hmm. We're not afraid. But number two, we're not going to give away our sources. And like, I'm not, I know a lot about a lot of people in this town. I could probably ruin a lot of lives and a lot of careers. It's because I've always listened, and I don't go spreading gossip around like it's my job. If somebody tells me something in confidence, I don't go tell anybody else. And that's the kind of trust you have to have. That's the kind of trust that the local media and the regional media and the corporate media in this country no longer have. Nobody wants to talk to them because why are they going to do it? It's been proven time and time again. They'll just take your words, they'll jumble them around, and they'll create their own narrative. We're not creating narratives here. We're just giving people opportunity to speak. And for those that might be afraid for whatever reason, hey, send us that information and we'll find a way to get it out some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I don't think we're afraid of exposing anything because, when you bring fear or intimidation into the argument, that actually makes me considerably more bullheaded and laissez-faire about everything. So, it's the intimidation it's all got to stop. Let's have transparency. Let's have communication, and let's not be scared to express a truth.
And let's stop holding up business owners from getting their jobs complete with litigation that, oh, by the way, that you're not even paying for. And if you're going to do it, go through with it at the end. Don't rescind your lawsuit the day before court starts because you don't have a case. Because now you have billed the taxpayers for 6 months of attorney fees, and you have essentially tried to cripple the business owner that's trying to come here. What example does this send to other business owners? What example does this send, me, like, and I'll give this example, with my job, I get to travel all around, within about 150-mile radius of Roanoke on most days. I get to see different parts of the state. And Buena Vista, for example, is a town that I, frequent, fairly often with my job. And it is a beautiful town. It's a little dilapidated, kind of like Rocky Mount, a lot of empty buildings, a lot of places that could use some uplifts, but with their views, with the land potential up there, all it would take was a really nice music venue, a couple of restaurants in there, and all of a sudden, with the access to Interstate 64 and 81 right there, that town could be thriving. If I had FU money and $1 billion or $2 billion, I would most certainly go up to Buena Vista and I would buy, even as a Rocky Mount citizen, I would go up there and I'd buy a few pieces of land. I'd try and put a couple of restaurants because I think there's a lot of beauty in there. Now, if I was going to do that and I started listening to maybe the Buena Vista version of a podcast and I heard all this nonsense that somebody with a little bit of money was trying to come in here, well, why do I want to go up there and spend money in a town that essentially doesn't want me? And that might not be the town's idea, but those are the people that you have elected and represented. So either you're not paying attention or you don't care, so why should I care? So any business owners that are looking at Rocky Mount, why should they care? If we're not going to get in here and vote the people out that are doing this nonsense, then why would they want to come here and spend their money? Why would they want to invest?
That's actually been throughout many of the comments that we've received. The reputation, very sadly, has been earned by Rocky Mount. Now, when it comes to those sort of reputations, they're very, very difficult to walk back. So, we're in a precarious position here that if we don't do something about this, that reputation we will be permanently tarnished. And that does not bode well for the future. So, we have to be engaged, and that's all there is to it.
And on every level. And, I know we're kind of talking about the town council and the mayoral race at the moment, but I would, I'm not afraid to say, hey, we're, putting the board of supervisors on blast, not on blast, I'm putting them on alert right now that at some point in time, we're going to find ways to come after you as well, because I know there's been a lot of shady stuff going on in the board of supervisors. I'm not a fan of $5 million project for a Glade Hill Rescue Squad building. That's unnecessary. I'm not a fan of
it's absurd.
A $1.6 million roundabout and a part. Now that might not be the board of supervisors. That's just state. But either way,
that's VDOT. That could be VDOT.
Either way, it's still the same. That's just another part of it, and that can even go to a higher level. I'm also not in favor of the board of supervisors going and purchasing land out there on 220 to put an industrial park. That's not your job.
No. It's a business park.
Whatever it is, industrial park business. Well, there's two of them out there. You got the Summit and you got the industrial park. So there's two different ones. I'm not sure exactly how that ties in, but if I'm not mistaken, I know that the town purchased that, or the county purchased that. We're not in the business of that.
That's where is the mandate there for property development. And I understand that you've got to be driving future generations and with the best intentions, but how that was crafted, and I've heard some of the backstories, how this was crafted was highly suspicious. And there's some questions that will forever, I suspect, be unanswered into how that land deal went down, and then how we get lumbered with providing service roads in for businesses that look to locate there. So there's some very interesting angles that need to be addressed with how that was allowed to happen, and should it be allowed to happen from the perspective of these are multi-million-dollar deals, which are taxpayers' money, and some of it was done behind the closed door. Now, as we had a chat with Holland, he was talking about why it needs to be behind closed doors. Yes, some of it does, but some of it gets a bit shady.
Well, when it comes to purchasing and things like that, after the purchase has been made, then the documents at the very least need to come out. How much did you pay? Why did you pay this? Who are you working with? Those. So yeah, if you want to do it behind closed doors.
Were any of your staff related to the realtor that took the 3% commission on the sale of the land?
Or any of your buddies, the ones that got the contract?
Who was related to the realtor?
Yes.
Unanswered question.
A lot of questions. And like I said, they shouldn't be in the business of purchasing land. You should be in the business of facilitating and saying, okay, we got a company that wants to come in. They want to put something here. Let's help them find this land, and maybe charge them a small fee for finding a finder's fee. That way we're getting paid a little bit instead of going and purchasing it and then trying to find what to do with it. Because if it doesn't work out, guess who's on the hook for that?
Yeah.
It's the taxpayers. Once again, we're complaining about not having enough money for the schools and this and this and this. And we go out there and blow our money on just unnecessary things. Hey, look, let the private citizens, let the private companies come in and make a deal with you. Let's get out of the business of just spending money in absurd ways. Like I said, Amos could have went and built for $500,000 to $1 million, whatever facility they wanted to. I guarantee you, he could have built and took care of that entire operation for. Now I don't know what the final cost would be. Maybe we need to look into that. But that was the proposal, and typically the proposal ends up being on the low end anyway. What it ends up costing in the end.
Just how do you put $5 million into a firehouse?
And not just a firehouse. I can see $5 million on a firehouse in a place that might actually have call after call after call after call after call. This is Glade Hill. There's not that many calls going on. It's not an area where, they might be getting a call a day, maybe 2 calls a day, something to that nature. And don't get me wrong. We need those services. We need people around. And maybe instead of spending $6.5 million or $5.5 million, how much they spent on the facility, how about taking, cutting that down dramatically, building the firehouse, and then maybe giving some of these volunteers a kickback for going out there and spending their time saving your life every single day, instead of them having to go around and beg people to donate to them. You know what I mean? I completely disagree with getting taxed. I should do what I want to do with my own money. But if I wasn't getting taxed and I could choose what I would do, I would end up sending a few $1,000s every single year to the fire departments in this county so they could operate and come save our asses when our house is on fire. But spending that kind of money when it should be given to the firefighters, not the facility, and especially in an area, it's unnecessary and uncalled for. And we've got to get away from just blowing all this money.
Well, it's the bottomless pit. Once you've got your hand in the taxpayer cookie jar.
It's not your capital. It's not your money.
You've got no risk. You've got no equity. You've got no ownership.
No.
And it's somebody else's money. That concept, goodness me. Wow.
And your buddy probably put in the bid and a couple of bids here and there, and you probably gave it to him, made a little bit extra money, and that buddy gives you a little bit of a kickback or comes and helps you build something for him. It's just, and that's fine and dandy if it was on a private scale. I don't care. Do what you want to do with your own money. Do what you want to do with your own capital and investment. But when you're using taxpayer dollars and we've got enough problems in this county as is, hey, once again, taxation is theft. But I would rather my money go to the school systems and the fire departments than I would, going and purchasing land. That's just completely
which
unnecessary.
is property development, which is exactly what that is.
Government has no business being in the middle of. They can't operate anything. They've shown their ineptness.
Well, when have they ever run a business successfully?
If they did, they wouldn't be in government, most likely.
Exactly.
They really wouldn't be. They wouldn't be running for these kind of offices. So, as far as that's concerned, I'm not afraid to sit here and say we have put people on notice, and at this point in time, put the Board of Supervisors on notice. If anybody there wants to come speak, anybody running wants to come speak, fine. If not, then when we find out what we need to find out, we're going to talk about it as well, because this is, the town is not where we're going to stop. We're all part of a community here, and even so, after that, it'll go to delegates and congressmen and senators. Doesn't matter who we got to call out. If the opportunity presents itself, we're going to hold your feet to the fire. And
you should expect that. I mean, this is, that's not unreasonable when you're dealing with taxpayer money.
But they've gone so long without being held accountable that it really gets up in their craw when somebody does start questioning them. And and I know Holland had said that they're having this emergency meeting on personnel issues or whatever the case may be. Now I guess that's a roundabout way of saying what we're going to do with Mark Moore here, since he's got assault charges allegedly coming up against him. But at the same time, that's probably having some other things that are going on with that. We will probably be mentioned. I have no doubt about it. And that's fine. But why are we up in your craw so bad that you got to do that on a Monday?
And a federal
holiday when you have a town session going the next day? Why not just address it with the rest of the community during your town council meeting?
Yeah, things that make you go,
And that's fine. And the local school board as well. Hey, Simon's you already know him very well, so I don't even have to tell y'all what he's capable of doing. And I might even get more interested in the school board here locally myself. Not because I ever intend or plan on sending my kids to any public school in this county. And that's no disrespect to some of the wonderful teachers and administrators we do have here. It's just at the end of the day.
Well, see, the administrators in Richmond are the problem.
They're the problem, and they have to answer to them, unfortunately, or they lose their job and lose the ability to feed their children. So I know they're walking a fine line as well.
Well, they're held financial captives by the dollar and how that whole carrot and stick work from Richmond, which is disgraceful.
Exactly. So that's why we're here, though. We're here to start finding ways to bust down those barriers and make it to where they don't have to be held accountable anymore. And if enough people like us and enough towns and enough counties across this country start doing what we're doing right here and getting the population excited about holding these people accountable, then we'll really start making change. We can only make change where we're at. So that's where we're starting at. And,
this is a great place to start. A little bit of transparency, a little bit of accountability. And when you put that out there as a candidate, and I'm specifically thinking about Ron Shiflett here, he's put it out there that this is how he's going to operate. So there's no, he's not doing a Mexican two-step here.
We should get Ron on the show.
We should, absolutely, we should.
We should. If any Board of Supervisors members are going to come, we need to get him up here then,
Yeah, well, I'll reach out. I know the guy.
Have him do it. And that's, and like you said, just find those right kind of people. And for me, and even for you, like, I don't have kids that are in schools, and I'm not going to have kids that are in public schools, but I still have a voice and an opinion on the matter, because guess what? My tax dollars still go to support that.
Your tax dollars being robbed from you to do it.
Exactly. And just because I have my own plans for my own kids doesn't mean I don't want to see the best for the rest of the kids in this town, because they're going to be growing up with my kids, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be leading this next generation. So,
it's still theft from your tax dollars.
So.
That's exactly what it is.
So, we've got that going on.
Just stay tuned, folks, because this is quite exciting. We're in I can feel some rumblings and change, and change for the better. So, put your comments in, engage with us, but more importantly, engage with your town council, engage with your board of supervisors, engage with the school board. And apathy ultimately ends up hurting you. All right? So, let's take a little bit of constitutional duty behind this and engage.
Yeah, stop paying attention to what Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are doing and start paying attention to what Steve Engel and the rest of the town council and board of supervisors around here are doing, because that's going to affect you, a whole lot more than the rest of it's going to affect you. And,
we can change this.
We very much can. All you need is one person. And thank you all so much for everybody that has, sent messages here last couple of days in support of us, who sent private messages saying, hey, I got this going on. I know about this. Can y'all look into this? And we absolutely will, because somebody, there has to be a voice out here. And all it takes is that first person. That first person steps up, and the next thing you know, somebody else will step up, and then somebody else, and that. When you start making them uncomfortable, they start making the right decisions because they don't want to be held accountable. Because at the end of the day, all the legalese, all the courts, all that kind of nonsense, all that crap goes out the window when you're standing face to face with somebody and you have to explain to them why you screwed them over, why you screwed their family over, why you can no longer provide for your family because of their ignorant decisions. So, I'm not suggesting violence, but what I'm saying is being right up in somebody's face and having to look them in the eye will really make somebody question their decisions in the future. So you have to show up. You have to be there at the meetings.
Engage. And you can't, let's not be delusional. You're not going to affect DC politics, and you're not really going to affect Richmond politics to the degree that we can affect local politics.
Yeah, and you can't right now, but if enough people do the same things we're doing in enough towns, and enough people in those towns and those cities get behind what we're doing, then eventually they start affecting change not only on the local level, but the state level. And then when they start affecting state level, they start affecting, the national level. It
can filter up.
It can most certainly filter up. You just have to have that spark. And, I'm hoping, like I said, that some other candidates will come on here. We've reached out to a couple. Maybe they'll get on here and kind of explain their situation, and we appreciate the ones that have come on here. I don't agree with the system. And if it were up to me, I would abolish the town council. I would, there's a town out here in the country. I wish I could, I'm going to look it up right now. Who their mayor is a cat.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
So, so look that up on there. I'm not even going to look it up. There is a cat, and it's because that town understands well enough that, it's a ceremonial position, and it should be a ceremonial position. Go and cut ribbons and meet people and be a good face of the town. And that's what eventually I think it should get down to. So me personally, and I know Simon and I differ here. Simon is a constitutionalist. He believes that there is a limited government that should serve the people. And me, I just want to burn it all to the ground. So I don't typically endorse candidates. I typically don't, wave a flag. With that being said, I think I can safely say at the least I endorse Philip Bain. I want him to be on the board, on the town council here. And that's not to take away anything from anybody else that's either running or on the council, because I don't know you well enough. I haven't met you. We haven't spoken. You haven't come on the show. So I'm indifferent about it. With that being said, I will eliminate one town council member in Ben Pinkard, and he can fuck right on off. So
you beat me to it.
So that right there is that they cancel each other out. So for the rest of them out there, make your own decisions and look into it and figure out what you want to do. And hopefully we'll get a couple of them on here. But, for his comments and the way he's treated, and spoke down to some of the people on our comment page, just citizens wanting to express their opinions and wanting to express their frustrations. And you to come on here unprovoked in these comments, and you can see it. Just go to the Appalachian Podcast on Facebook. Go find the show drop for the Philip Bain. It's called the People versus the Town of Rocky Mount, and we make the post. I give a little bit of it's probably the third post down. It's got the link to our podcast, but click all comments. And I've had a lot of people even in that section say, well, I can't even read what he's saying. So he's got a lot of his comments hidden. And I feel like here, probably after tomorrow's meeting, they're going to tell him to go delete those comments. Don't even worry about doing that, Ben. We've got them all screenshotted, and we're going to definitely be releasing them to the public to let everybody know what you think about the constituents in this town. And, the fact that, I'm pretty sure I heard from somebody reached out to me in the last couple of days that he had an idea of just bulldozing all the houses on North Main Street, for development and stuff. Like, well, people live there, and if God Almighty, if that's your outlook on stuff, just bulldoze them down. Maybe you should not be sitting in the town council. So Ben Pinkard, I will let you know this right now. We're a little late to the game right now because I know there's only 6 positions. I'm not exactly sure how the voting is tallied or if it's ranked choice voting or whoever gets the most down to the least. So we haven't had a chance to really get involved in this and maybe even inspire some other younger people to get out there and run. So the pool is very limited, but mark my words, if one way, shape, or form, this is the last election you'll be a part of, and I'll see to it to that. If you win this one, this will be your last one. If you don't win it, which I'm hoping you won't after your comments, then so be it. We've done a good thing. But I'll spend the next 4 years going out of my way, one way, shape, or form. And you're already like 78 years old anyway, so you might not even run the next. But if you decide you want to, it's not going to happen.
How long has he been in this position anyway?
I think 18 years, 20 years. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know a lot about him, but I've had a lot of people send me a lot of dirt on him in the past, 5 days based off of the nonsense that he was spouting out there. And
after 18 years of service, just give it up, mate.
He's a very sad.
Just give it up.
Angry man. And I have no idea why he would come on here and be sad and angry and call you and I a couple of simpletons for doing nothing other than trying to make this town look good and bring people into this town and have them come spend their money and buy things, eat, anything. Like we're just trying to promote this area. That's been my rip from the beginning. You can go back and listen to any other show. I want this town to thrive. And so if you to come in here and call me a simpleton, you mouth breathing, Matlock looking, SOB, come on to this show. Come on to this show. Stand up against me. I'm not just some slack jaw. You know what I mean? Like I think I have a voice. I deserve a voice. I'm a combat veteran. I've lived here my entire life. And who are you to go on here and tell somebody that they should go home or they don't belong here or because they're from Roanoke, they should need to go back. You're from Roanoke.
Yeah, how dare
You're from Roanoke.
Actually,
yeah,
how dare
exactly.
you?
I mean, would you say that to somebody that came in here from India or Pakistan to open up a hotel? No, you wouldn't because you'd get raked over the coals by your own very liberal corporate media. So you wouldn't say anything like that, but you got no problem coming onto my comment section and just being disrespectful to the people of this county who finally have stood up and said, you know what? I agree. I want to change what's going on here. And if you to come, I mean, like I said, you can go in here and I got him pulled up right here. I mean, looks like he may have deleted them.
He knows it's coming.
He may have deleted them. I can't see him on here right now, but have no fear. We screenshotted every single one of them. We'll do a nice little campaign ad for him. So yeah, I'm not in the business to come on over here and picking winners and losers from the rest of the town council.
Make an educated opinion and vote accordingly is really what you should be doing. The blind vote here just because, he's your next door neighbour, it doesn't cut it these days. All right, let's make an educated assessment and vote accordingly. And that's really all that we can do because if these candidates are going to make a better place for all of us, they're going to get voted in. And I hope they do.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping he's going to get voted out. And, and like I said, it looks like these comments are gone, but I'll find them again. And if they're not gone, we're going to release them. We'll do a nice little, maybe a parody political ad just for him. Just to let the town know what he thinks of them because it's disgusting. You should not be in political office if that's what you think about people who are just trying to comment and share their opinions. So I encourage everybody listening to this, go to that comment section and read what this despicable human has to think about you and everybody else. Get him out of there. Anybody else? I'm indifferent. I don't know enough about you. I'm not going to sit here and bash you for your decisions until I can figure it out personally who did what. As a whole, the town council is disappointing as a whole. But their
performance actually has given that, credibility. What have they done lately?
Exactly. And until I can figure out who's done what or what, I'm not going to sit here and bash you. I'm going to let the people educate themselves. But for you you need to be out the door, and Philip needs to be in the door. Aside from that, let's get to whoever else wants to come on here. Let's get them on here. Let them speak. Let them, let us know what they think about it and what they plan on doing, and we can go from there.
And don't think we're simpletons.
No, we're definitely not simpletons, you mouth breather. With all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. But this episode will probably be released here on Monday the 10th. I think we'll probably release it then. We typically release on Tuesday, but at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and try and get some of these episodes out here so everybody has as many days as possible to listen to them, to be able to make their decisions.
Perhaps it'll be a discussion point at the closed door meeting.
Exactly. And that's why I'm going to release it Monday morning so they can sit here and let it simmer and let it seep. And for everybody else, another reason I'll release it Monday morning, because everybody who want to listen to this, show up Tuesday to the town council meeting. I will be attending my first one. This is how much y'all have got up in my ass, is I'm actually going to show up now, because I don't care normally. I don't. I just want things. I got too much other stuff. You want to be left alone. I do. I want to be left alone. I got too much other stuff going on, but I'm going to show up to this one and introduce myself to all the lovely people on the council that may have different opinions or may dislike us, and just let them know that this is just the beginning. We're going to continue to hold your feet to the fire. So show up on Tuesday, meet us up there, hang out, and I think maybe Tuesday night we'll come back here, and maybe Simon and I will sit down for 30 or 40 minutes, and we'll do a reaction to the town council meeting, and we'll just talk about what we endured or what we saw, or maybe our thoughts on the process. So maybe we'll release just
a commentary of the evening.
A commentary, yeah. So we might just release a nice little 30-minute tidbit that'll come out on Tuesday evening, kind of go and coincide with this one. So stick around for that one. And for anybody looking for the Black Lives Matter Part 2, we're going to release it. Right now, we're in the middle of this political stuff. We want to get all the voices out there as much as we can. But if you want to go on our Patreon page, it's the Appalachian Podcast on Patreon for just $3 a month. You can subscribe to us. You can get these shows early. You can get like behind the scenes content. And who knows, maybe me and Simon can Zoom once a week or something, just kind of go over a few things just to add on that. We're trying to find ways to add subscriber content, but it's also a good way to support us. I mean, this isn't cheap. I've spent a lot of money, doing this show. We don't have any sponsors right now, and I kind of like that on one hand, because I'm not bound by anybody or what, their politics or anything. But, you go spend $3 a month, you get this, and you could spend more or less, however you want to do it, but it's supporting us. It's allowing us to give back, and it's allowing us to, get this message out there. So that's at patreon.com at the patreon.com/Appalachian Podcast. And you can find us on there. And also you'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at the Appalachian Podcast. Check that out for updates here in the next month or so. We're going to be dropping a lot of updates about the town, about things that are going on, because, hey, it's what you all are interested in. And, after this past week, I see and I hear where y'all's hearts and minds are. So we're going to spend the next month listening to what y'all have to say and trying to get the right information out there, each and every one of you.
Let's unravel it.
We're absolutely going to do that. So for Simon, myself, thank you for Holland and Joe Stanley, and everybody else out there. We'll see you next time.